everybody, my name is Jennifer Maker. Today I am showing you how to quickly and easily personalize stuffed animals, dolls, plushies, including these little house elves on the Great Maker Show and Tell. One of the easier things that you can do with a Cricut cutting machine is cut iron on vinyl and use it to personalize stuffed animals, dolls, toys, and even elves. I've had a lot of requests for a tutorial on how to personalize these quickly and efficiently. So today we're going to go over exactly how to find them, how to size the designs for them, which fonts work best for like names and stuff, how to get the vinyl to stick, and all of that good stuff. First, most of the items that you see here came from the Dollar Tree. We have elves, moose, mermaids, dolls, superheroes, and even a flying horse. And Dollar Tree stuffies like this are popular because, well, they're really inexpensive. So they're ideal when you have a lot of people to buy for, like say gifts for a large team or a large family, or when you want to resell things at a craft show or to your friends. Just keep in mind that you get what you pay for. They're very simple and, well, let's say they're not made of the highest quality materials, but they do take iron on vinyl really well. You can also personalize fancier and plusher things like this cute little bunny. So there's a huge range of things, and I have a shopping list link below this video that gets you ideas on items that you can personalize at various prices. That said, I know most of you are really interested in personalizing the cute little elves from the Dollar Tree, perhaps the mooses as well. I'm going to use the elves as an example in this video on how to create and size designs. And we're going to use that one specifically. I've even drawn up a template so you can use it to resize things for perfect sizing and placement every time. I've even made you some extra little decals like bows and earrings and snowflakes and glasses and so on that you can use to fancy up your elves. We'll go over that together in a moment. One of the drawbacks to these elves is how they only show up at the store in pink over the Dollar Tree. I mean, come on, what's with that? We all know elves come in all colors. So I'm also going to show you how you can color your elves using either fabric markers or alcohol ink. Now for supplies, you mostly just need white iron on vinyl. I like to use basic Cricut Everyday Iron on vinyl. Works really well, but I've also used glitter iron on vinyl and flocked iron on vinyl, which is a soft, almost fabric-like feeling vinyl. The simplest one to use is the Cricut Everyday Iron On, but the prettiest one is the glitter. And I'm going to show you how all three of them look on the dolls themselves later on. Now to press your iron on vinyl to the stuffed animals and dolls, I recommend that you use a small iron like the Cricut EasyPress Mini. Isn't it cute? And this is what I use to make all of these very fast. If you don't have a Mini EasyPress, you can also use a small craft iron, a heat press, or even a hair straightener in a pinch. The nice thing about them is that about most of these is that they're made of a polyester, and so the vinyl sticks quite easily to them. You're not going to have to fight with it or anything like that. Now let me show you where to get my template and the decal file, and then we will create some simple designs and personalize more of these little cuties together. The first step is to get my free elf template, which you can find over on my blog at jennifermaker.com. Just click on Libraries in the red bar at the top. You can get a password for free here, or click Enter the library. Once you're inside the library, the quickest way to find this file is to search the page with Control F or Command F. Just type in Elves. There we go. So here's the file. We'll click that, and it downloads, and then we open it. Be sure to always unzip your files. If you're ever not sure about how to unzip a file, I have a free tutorial on how to do that. Your next step is to design your elf or plushie decals. I'm going to show you how to do that today in Cricut Design Space. Once you're in Cricut Design Space, with a new canvas, click Upload, Upload Image, and Browse, and find the SVG file that you downloaded and click Open. this is what it looks like. So go ahead and click Save. Once you've saved it to Cricut Design Space, you're going to want to click the image itself and insert images to put it onto your canvas. So this is what it looks like. Let's click on Group so we have access to things individually. And I'll make it a little bigger. And the idea behind this is a true representation of what this particular brand of elf looks like, which is very popular right now. So I thought it might be helpful for you to have a template so that you could experiment with fonts and sizes and decals and all that sort of thing. So I've created a bunch of little designs here that you're welcome to use for your elves. And what people usually like to do is put a name here on the shirt and a date here on one of the feet, and perhaps something decorative on the hat or the skirt or the little shorts. But you can do whatever you want, of course. But I want to show you what works really well for me. So let's move some of these elements off so we have lots of room to work with. So the first thing we want to do is personalize our elf or our plushie. Now we have a template here for the elves. If you don't have a template for your plushie, you need to get out a ruler and measure. Find out exactly what the size of the area that you can put something on, and then reduce it just a little bit. Reduce it by like 10 to 20% because you don't want it going right to the edges. It's going to be too big. You need to have a margin around it. Let me give you an example. So I'm going to go ahead and make a name. I'm going to click on text and I'm going to type my name because I haven't made an elf for myself yet. And so here's my name, Jennifer. And I'm going to put it on this elf's shirt. So I'm going to zoom in a bit here so we can see better. So I've clicked and dragged it over to her shirt, and obviously it's much too big right now. So I'm going to click this resize handle in the lower right corner and click and drag it until it's a better size. Now if I went edge to edge like this, it's really just going to be way too big. It's going to be hard to place and iron on, but it's also going to be hard to read because this is a 3D object and it's going to wrap around a little bit. So instead you want to bring it in a bit so that you have some space around it. It's easier on the eye. And that's it if you would like this font. Now there's actually some really good fonts that are ideal for personalizing elves and plushies. And generally the rule is the bolder the better because it's easier to see, easier to work with too. And since these are cute things, cute fonts tend to look particularly good. I actually have a whole list of fonts that I found in both Cricut Design Space and free fonts outside of Cricut Design Space for you over on my blog. Let me show you one. So I'm going to go up to the font menu, and I like Don Juan. It's a good font. Here we go. So this is a Cricut font. So if you have Cricut Access, you could use this, or you could buy it if you want, of course. So you see this is a pretty good font. Let's change the color to white since that's the color that we're actually going to cut our iron-on vinyl. Now let's come in just a little bit more. Now once I change the font, you'll notice that it got a little bit wider. So we need to resize that again. Now I think it's a little short for the space. I would like to see it a little taller and fill more of the space. I really want it to pop and be really visible. So the way that you do that is you click the lock icon in the lower left corner to unlock it. And then you can click and drag this resize handle and it changes the dimensions in different ways. You can shrink it or make it really short. I want to make it a little taller than what it was, like this. And there we go. That looks pretty good to me. So you would do the same thing for anything else that you want to personalize. So down here at the foot, same thing. Let's type in a font. Now a really cute font for like a free font that you can get that I think is really cute is called, Decal Jumbo. There it is. Yes. Super cute. Look at that. And so we're going to drag this down to the foot, and we're going to do exactly the same thing that we did before and resize it until it looks the way that we want. So I'm going to put this on the foot. We can see it's too big. So I'm going to click and drag this and resize it in. And that's good. We want it to be big enough that we can spot it easily. Not doesn't want to get lost. And if it's too small, you'll just curse yourself because it'll be difficult to weed and difficult to iron on as well. Little bits will go missing. So one of the things you'll notice as you play with fonts is that sometimes the letter spacing is a bit off. You can change letter spacing by going up to the letter space menu right here. And if I click this, I can put in like 0 right now, and it'll come and smoosh in together. I can put in a 5, and it'll be really widely spaced. And I can say -3, and it'll practically be on top of each other. How close it gets does depend on the font itself. I would say maybe let's try 1. That looks pretty good. Now, sometimes the letters or numbers don't space equally as well as they ought to because kerning it's not currently being used in Cricut Design Space. So for example, this 2 is a little further apart from the 1 here. And if you want to change this and this bothers you, you can go to Advanced and click Ungroup to Letters and click and drag and hold down the Shift key, because if you do that, the letter or number will stay on the same plane that it is currently on. So let me show you. If I don't hold down the Shift key and move it, you'll see sometimes it comes a little too high or too low. Whereas if I hold down the Shift key when I click and drag it, it stays on the plane. So I move it right over here so it's closer, like that. Now if you do this and you ungroup your letters or numbers, it's very important that you weld it. Welding is also really good if you have any cursive letters because anything that's touching needs to be welded. But in this case, we're going to select each one and then we click on weld and it'll all stay together. The numbers won't be jumbled when we go to make it. Now, here's a tip if you don't know. So when you weld, you can't edit the numbers and the text. And that can be frustrating, and especially if you need to recreate it. But as long as you save your work and come back and look at your project, you can always find out what font you were using when you welded something. If you go up to the item itself in the layers panel over here on the right and right click it, there's an option at the bottom that says image info. See that right down here at the bottom? If we hover over that, it tells us what font we used. So watch. There it is. It's light gray, so you have to know to look for it, but it says selected font DK Jumbo. So it's letting us know what font we used. Even though we can't edit the font right now because we welded it, we at least know what font it was so that we can recreate it. So this is a really helpful tip. All right, so let's back up a little bit here so we can see all of our text and everything. So if I were to make this little girl Elf right now, I've got my name and I've got it in white because I want to do white vinyl. I've got the number down here on her foot. I also want that to be white, so let's choose white. And then I have these other elements here. They're currently in red just so they would stand out, but if I wanted to cut them in vinyl right now, I need to change them to be the same color so that it all prints together. So if I want this snowflake here, let's see, I'm going to do the bow. Now the bow I probably would want to be in a different color. Red is good for this one because the brim on her hat is white. So we'll keep this red and the earrings red, but I would like this snowflake to be white. There we go. And I'll move these other things out of the way. This is what I want to actually cut. So I need to hide everything else for now. The way I like to do it, my little cheat on hiding things to get it out of the way so that I don't cut it, is I click and drag all the things I don't want. So that's all of this, like this. And then I group it like that. And then I can hide it, hide that whole group. See, super fast. It's still there in case I need it, but it's hidden and out of my way. So now I'm going to cut just this red vinyl and just this white vinyl. And I'm going to use Cricut Everyday Iron on vinyl to do it, but then I'm going to show you all of the other vinyls that I've experimented with so you can decide what's best for you. Yeah, so let's go ahead and click Make It. So we get two mats, a white mat and a red mat, which is awesome. Now I want to show you another tip right now. So first of all, because this is iron on vinyl, this is really that everything's really smushed together, and I want some more space because I'm cutting each individual element out and putting it in different spots. So I'm going to click and drag each of these items just over, give it a little breathing space so that I have some extra of the transfer material to put onto my elf when I make this. Go back to our red mat. So what I'm going to actually do is move these over to my white mat. No, I'm not going to cut them out in white vinyl. Instead, I'm going to save myself some time by cutting both the white and the red on one mat at the same time. And I will show you how to do that. So let's click on the bow, click the three dots and say move to another mat. I'm going to put it on my white mat and just put it over here. And then I'm going to go back to here and do the same thing for each of these little hearts. These are her little earrings. They're very tiny. And right here and this one as well. Of course, I could have just made these things all white to start with, but I wanted you to see how we can move things that are different colors like this and save ourselves some time. So now we have some white things and then things over here that we do want to be red. Even though they're on our white mat, we're going to still cut them in red. So let's put all the white things on the left side and all the red things on the right side. So I'm going to move this over a little bit more. We don't need quite that much space here. All right, so everything up between 2 inches down and 7 inches over is going to be white vinyl. And then everything over on the right from 2 inches down to 3 inches over is going to be red. So you'll see how we do this in a moment. Now, one very important thing you must remember to do when you're cutting iron on vinyl is to mirror your design. Always mirror your design. To do that, you go over to where it says mirror here over on the left and you toggle it on. And you'll notice that everything becomes a mirror image. So you can't tell in the snowflake, but you can see the Jennifer and the 2019 in your bow. And that's important because you actually cut it in reverse, but then you flip it over and then apply it to your project. So let's click continue. By the way, if you forget to mirror in that step, you can still do it over here in this step if you click edit. So our first material that we'll test is the Everyday Iron. So select that, and all you need to do is use your fine point blade, and let's head on over and make that. All right, your next step is to cut out your iron-on vinyl. So here I have my white vinyl and red vinyl, and I'm going to show you how I cut them both at the same time. I put my white vinyl on in the same place as I saw in my mat preview, and then I trim off the excess there. Remember, it didn't come all the way over to the right side. Now I put my red vinyl in the section that had the red decals, and I'm going to use my knife and just cut off the part that is overlapping the white, and that's it. Now I can just run this through and they will cut the white and the red just as they should. Now your next step is to weed your vinyl. Once your vinyl is cut, you'll want to take it off the mat and you need to weed it. Weeding it is to remove all the excess vinyl that you don't actually want transferred to your elf. Let me show you how to do that really quickly. First, I like to make a little notch in the corner to get started, and then you pull off all the extra. The Everyday Iron from Cricut weeds really quite easily. And you get all that big extra off, and then you use a weeding tool to get the little bits out. So you get the counters out of, those are the centers, out of the letters, and any little bits that maybe tore as you were removing it, like things between letters or patterns, and then you cut the pieces apart for the sections. Always double check that your pieces fit on your plushie or your elf, just to be sure. I mean, it should be fine because you use a template and you measured right, but just always double check before you actually go and do it. And this looks great. Your next step is to attach your iron-on vinyl to your elf or your plushie or stuffed animal. So let's get our EasyPress out, and we're going to set it to the second setting, and let's attach these. I recommend you always preheat the area that you're about to put your vinyl on, and protect it with a piece of parchment paper because it is polyester, and polyester can discolor or melt if we don't protect it. So just, 5-10 seconds just to preheat that area. And then you simply position your vinyl where you want it to be. And then you press and hold your Cricut EasyPress or whatever you're using to press these into place for, the timing varies. I did about 10 to 15 seconds at the second setting with my Mini EasyPress. If you're using something else like a household iron or a large heat press, preferably with a small plate attachment or even a hair straightener, you might have to experiment a little bit. I do have some setting suggestions over at my blog post about this project. Generally, 10 to 20 seconds is probably going to be good. Always test. It's always a great idea to test. Now, Cricut Everyday Iron is a warm peel, which means we wait until it's not hot, but it's still warm, and then we gently peel it off. And it really does a great job on these. I had no issues. That peeled off like a breeze and looked amazing. And then you just go around and you do the rest of your elf. Whatever decorations you decide upon, and it's really quite quick to do. And especially if you're going to do a bunch of these, you sort of get into a rhythm, and you can get them done quickly. Now let's look at our 3 different kinds of vinyl. On the left with Alexa, we have the Cricut Everyday Iron on Vinyl, which goes on great, looks great. It's very clean and sharp, and really the easiest one to use. In the middle here with Grandy, we have the Cricut Glitter Iron-On. It's harder to weed, but the glitter is very pretty and certainly goes well with anything that looks snowy, because that looks like snow then, right? My favorite is the glitter. It's just a little bit harder, especially if you have quantity. On the right here is Siser flocking. So it's flocked vinyl, and it has a softer feel to it. It almost feels like fabric, but it did a great job. Not quite as easy to weed as the Cricut Everyday Iron-On, but it has a nice feel, especially if you want something soft. These are the 3 options I recommend for putting on elves and plushies and stuffed animals. Of course, there's much more that we can do besides elves. We could do moose and superheroes and teddy bears and pretty much anything that's soft and isn't too fluffy. But even then, you'd be surprised at what you can get. Maybe not furry, but even fluffy is okay. Now, if you want to color your elves, I tried both fabric markers and alcohol inks, and I want to show you my results. So for the fabric markers, I used brown and black. Brown for the skin and black for the hair, because they should be different colors. Otherwise, they look weird if you keep the hair. I mean, you can do whatever you want, of course, but I thought it looked a little weird to keep the hair that sort of tannish color. So I literally just drew all over the face and the ears and the hands. Anywhere where there was pink skin showing, I changed it to brown with my fabric marker. It is a little bit messy, so you'll want to keep your space clean. Otherwise, it'll transfer to other parts of your elf or whatever you're doing. So just be mindful of that. But otherwise, it was pretty easy to do. And then I just took the black fabric marker and I colored in the hair very carefully. And, I don't know, maybe it took me like 10 minutes to do. So I thought that this was pretty okay. Just don't forget to do the hands as well and the back of the hair so that it's the same color as the front. Now for the alcohol inks, I thought I would be smart, and I would mix a little alcohol inks with alcohol to thin it out so it didn't kind of glop onto there. And at first that seemed okay, but what I discovered, of course, is that it watered it down too much, and it was actually bleeding into the other areas. So it started bleeding into the rim of the hat and the collar, and then it looked like the poor elf I didn't even know was rolling around in the mud or something. It was not a good look. So don't do that. Don't make my mistake. Just use the alcohol ink directly. You can still pour it into a little cup. Use a brush and just brush it on without diluting it in any way. And that worked better. And the package that I got had 3 different colors of brown in it. So you could get different hues and shades and stuff like that. So I thought that worked really well. So here's my elf with fabric marker on the left and alcohol ink on the right. I thought they both worked. So you should pick the method that works well for you and based on what materials you have. So I think that you can see how simple it is to personalize these dolls and how you could sit down and do a dozen or 2 or 3 dozen in a single session. And I think personalized elf dolls and stuffed animals would be really great stocking stuffers and gift toppers, or even just decoration. I mean, who doesn't want to see a little elf or a moose or a mermaid with their name on it? It's a simple, easy, and inexpensive gift that anyone can do. If you have any questions at all about how to personalize something soft like this, please just leave a question below this video and we'll be happy to help you. Or come on over to my Facebook group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters. You'll also find a ton of ideas and other things that you can personalize like this in that group. And if you don't yet have a Cricut to cut your iron-on vinyl, because I know a bunch of you have told me that, why not enter my Cricut giveaway that I have going on right now? Get all of the details at jennifermaker.com/CricutGiveaway. And that's it for today. Tomorrow I'll be back to show you how to make something brand new, only I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. Would you rather I show you how to make a snow globe tumbler, or would you rather learn how to engrave designs on spatulas? Let me know in the comments because I really love to make what you want. I'm always open to your project ideas. If you can tell me what you want to make, I can show you how to make it. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.